Welcome back, travelers, to Legendary Lore, where today we're finally going to find out how Dominaria United ends. Okay, so, that said...
Legendary Lore!
Oh, double take. Okay, so, basically...
Gotta keep you on your toes, Cosmic Errata.
So, essentially what happens is it just opens up with Teferi killing a Phyrexian. It's on Karn's work table, and he's just stabbing it and killing it.
That's my favorite kind of opening.
Yeah. It's so good. But the thing is, the reason Teferi is doing it is he's the second...
Because the Phyrexians are evil.
Essentially. But he found this one in the food stores.
Mm-hmm.
So, essentially, it's obviously one of the sleeper agents he was able to catch. He killed it. But the fact that it was in the food stores means that now they don't know if any of the food they had is corrupted for all their troops. And so they're having to go through it and analyze basically everything to see if there's any signs of Phyrexian tampering. Which also means that they're not going to get to eat for at least a day. And Karn says that he reminisces about the fact that missing a single meal makes Jorah sometimes very grumpy. And so he can imagine what that can do to an entire army over the course of a day.
These organic people need the organic sustenance.
Yeah, essentially. And he even says he never really understood the appeal of food. He just recognized it as being important. It's also funny because...
yes, this is delicious. Karn, you haven't tasted it. What is taste? Also, I've seen people look at this and call it delicious.
And so, basically, Teferi had been injured earlier with the whole deal with the original Phyrexian problems happening. And so... Teferi's kind of just there with his guts all bound up and with armor put on him and stuff like that, and Karn's helping him readjust it. And Karn,
the fact that these people have open wounds is making me nervous.
Yeah, it really does, doesn't it? And so Karn's essentially trying to fix it and make him look a little bit better. And he thinks to himself that he'll never get over the fact that people essentially just have a thin veil of flesh that is the bucket that holds their organs inside of them. And
have we ever gotten this in-depth Karn?
No, and I love it. It's so good. And he talks about how he feels
why didn't whoever made these humans make them like me? It's so efficient.
He's like, nothing can kill me. I'm old.
Awesome. I broke it.
My bad. But basically he says that it seems like a big design flaw. He actually says that. And so it's cool because all this is happening and... they're talking to each other, Teferi and Karn. This is just them together. And Karn is okay, I basically figured out the Silex. I know how to use it. We just need to get that Silex to New Phyrexia, trigger it, and this whole thing will be over. No problem at all. It'll destroy the entire plane. It might destroy me, but at least we know that it can stop this, right? At the same time, Teferi says this. It was too easy to think of you as a thing while watching you being built. For what it's worth, Karn, I apologize for how I treated you in the past. And he's like, I accept your apology. So we have closure for this 100-year story from time streams that we talked about all that
just
time.
Recently.
Yeah, with Artie Shovelhead. And now we have Teferi and Karn basically broing it out.
I probably still would have called you Artie Shovelhead. I was a kid. Kids are mean.
He goes, I was a booger. I'm sorry.
I was the worst kid. I wasn't even a named card when I first came up. Karn's like, I saw that. I was making a meta reference. I am a meta reference.
So essentially,
I am a robot.
Now, essentially what they have is the mana rig is being set up. Jorah's already got the whole explosive deal set up. They have cannons, but the cannons aren't ready yet. She designed these new cannons, but they're not prepared. And there's all across the desert, there's just Phyrexians everywhere. They've come up and they're starting to attack. This is the siege. It's just started. And they're trying to get everything set up. They're trying to get everything ready. And they're all really struggling. And then the Phyrexian dreadnought lifts itself from out the horde. It says it's whale-like in its immensity. And it's just got these centipede legs and mandibles. And it's going towards it. And what's cool is that we hear the swear from Teferi of 9 hells. Which is an old phrase that used to be used because it referenced Phyrexia. The 9 circles of Phyrexia, because back then Phyrexia, as far as the actual people designing the story, they based a lot of it off of the imagery of hell, based off of Dante's Inferno, which had 9 circles. A lot of bits to that.
Dante's Inferno, the game?
No, is there a game?
I think so.
I know it's a book, a fantastic book, but
Isn't that the game with like the guy with the sword and his brother who also has a sword and they fight with the swords?
Devil May Cry?
Is that what I'm referencing?
I think so.
Okay.
The main character's name is Dante
Yes.
because it's inspired by Dante's Inferno.
Okay, that is what I was thinking of then. I'm a gamer, guys.
Yeah,
I know how to catch Pokemon. I have a giant gold licky lick.
So, essentially, they get the cannons to work, they start blasting away, and then the Weatherlight shows up, and they're like, yes! We have our air support! Because
There's no way this can go wrong.
And it immediately starts lancing through everybody with its green lasers. And they're like, oh, no. The Weatherlight's been completed.
Oh, that's awful.
And it just starts destroying everything. And the Phyrexians are jumping off of the Weatherlight.
Oh.
And we see the new captain of the Weatherlight. Who's the last remaining character qualified enough to captain the Weatherlight, Joe? That we know of.
Chandra.
It's Urte. Yes. Now, you may recall, Urte was on the original Weatherlight crew. He got abandoned.
Yeah.
Karn was also a member of the original Weatherlight crew.
He got neglected by his father.
Urte has a bone to pick with Karn. And he essentially tells him that, well, first off, he says, it's been quite some time, old friend. And Karn's like, oh, no, not this goon. I thought you were dead.
Because, yeah, a lot of people did.
And so, essentially, whatever had, like, resurrected him, Karn's realizing, it's still Urte. This is not, like, some, like, facsimile of him that's still, like, just using his face. No, this is really the actual deal. Meanwhile...
Karn's like, wow, Squee's really bad at his job.
Yeah, essentially. But then Daragos shows up. The giant dragon. Mm-hmm. And he starts just tearing into the Weatherlight. And just trying to destroy it. And so you have Daragos in the sky fighting the Weatherlight, while you have Urte on the mana rig fighting Karn.
Daragos got a card again, right?
No, Rith did instead.
Okay.
So essentially what I'm expecting is that over the next 5 sets of Dominaria that we're going to see each of the primeval dragons reappear.
Okay.
So we'll have a chance to see, I believe it's Treva, Crosis.
Rixmati?
No. Rixmati is the name of the Rakdos, essentially temple.
Vivictus Asmati.
Vivictus Asmati is the cousin of Nicol Bolas who died during the Dragon Wars.
Okay, so I'm thinking way back in time.
Yeah.
After getting the name wrong.
Yes.
And then after correcting the name, I was too back in time.
Yeah, you were.
Anyways. Explaining the layers to where I messed up.
Basically, that's that. But Daragos is here already, and he's fighting against it. And now we have Karn and Urte. And here's what Urte tells him. It's been so long since the Weatherlight left me for dead. Y'all could have come back for me, but you did not.
Why is he southern?
You now look at who captains it. A neat twist of fate. And obviously Karn is like, no, this is not fate. This is literally Sheldred making sure that you are where you want to be so that you're better at what you're doing. And then Urte's like, she may think you're special, Karn. But I know the truth. Anything that has been built can be disassembled. And so essentially what happens is that Urte has been essentially training and dreaming of this moment for his opportunity to destroy one of the last remaining entities, essentially from his perspective, the last part of the crew. Because from his perspective, he killed Squee after he turned into a Phyrexian.
Oh, because he bolted before Squee had his whole thing.
Exactly. So as far as he knows, Squee was dead. Meaning that Karn was the last thing he needed to get rid of to completely have taken back the Weatherlight and gotten rid of their entire deal.
That story ends with Squee walking through the door, right?
It ends with him and his big friend.
Bolt.
Yeah. And the two of them just going on with their life. Squee just a normal guy now. Spoilers. But yeah, essentially we have...
It's not that episode came out before this. You should be watching.
So, essentially, Urte was like shadowboxing with Karn in his mind, thinking of all the different ways that things could go.
Just imagine Karn makes his weapon, makes his hand into a weapon. Urte pulls out screwdrivers in all 4 hands.
Essentially, he just with his 4 hands, he does that, and Karn's now bound by his magic. And not just bound, but he can actually feel the plates caving in.
Oh, he's actually disassembling them with magic.
Urte is using magic to manually disassemble Karn. And it's at this point that Karn, for the first time in his entire life, After all these centuries, he's considering what it could be like to die. Because Urte's doing that right now. He is actively killing Karn with his magic. And he tells him that he's going to dismantle him, and then he's going to rebuild him in his like basically in his vision, in his image.
Karn actually dies here.
And he says to him, "You'll be unrecognizable, beautiful and new." And then frost begins to go all across Karn's body because it's like another method essentially of Urte's to just make his armor brittle so that it can be broken. And it's all happening, and he can actually feel the tension as things are snapping inside of him. And then Ajani shows up, and he's like, "Oh good, Ajani's here to help me." And he's thinking that he doesn't want to die. Karn realizes he would not like to die after all of this. And he's thinking about how he needs to be able to be the one to have the
Especially after he just made up with Teferi.
Yeah, exactly. Like everything is finally there. People finally recognize that he's a person, and Urte is essentially confirming his fears from before that he is nothing but a thing that could be disassembled. Like it's beautifully done. Everything comes together so well in this story. And now Ajani's here, and Karn's realizing that he can be saved. And Ajani runs up, and he just tackles Urte off of a cliff. And we don't see Urte for the rest of the story. I was reading through this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Karn, what's gonna happen to Karn? Karn's my favorite character. What's gonna happen? Oh, it's Ajani. Urte just goes flying, and it's like, huh? What? Because Urte was so he's so impressive, he's so dangerous, and like
he was a legit threat.
Yeah, he's a legit threat. But also the fact that he's incredibly arrogant, and so he was thinking, okay, I have the most powerful person in the room under my control. I have no reason to be worried about it. Oh, I'm flying.
I'm gonna find the SpongeBob scene. I know there's one where they knock him off a cliff. Just put that in there.
And then while that's happening, and you have the Weatherlight and Daragos fighting, the Golden Argosy flies into view.
Golden Argosy flies?
Yes.
I thought it was a boat.
So's the Weatherlight. And so this happens, and the Argosy comes in, and now there's all these other legendary creatures that just jump out, and Radha's there, and everyone's basically there to just throw down and tear everything apart.
I hate that Radha couldn't get a rare spot this set.
It's true. She kind of got... I mean, obviously it's a rare...
She got a really good card last time.
And the time before that. And the time before that. So, take it as it comes.
Yeah.
Now, that said, the Golden Argosy is here, and it's like, what is happening? and it's actually, that's like how Ajani got there. Like, okay. The Argosy came in.
He jumped off the boat.
Yeah, the Argosy came in, Ajani jumped out, tackled Urte, and Urte flew off the edge. Like, that was the full, course of events and how they turned out. And it's like, what? Okay, sure, that's great, thank you.
Love it.
Yeah, so... this is all happening, and then you have Danitha and Radha. They're side by side. There's a spell, a white spell. It's just like a random pump spell.
I've seen it.
Yeah, and it shows the two of them, and they're just going at it, killing Phyrexians on this final day. And so it's funny because Jaya shows up, of course, because she's Jaya, and she says, "Karn, how do you like your interplanar nightmares cooked?" And he says, "I do not require nutritional sustenance." And she goes, "I'm unappreciated in my time." And she just keeps killing people. And I love the fact that, obviously, Karn gets the bit. He understands the joke. He's just actively that's his way of quipping. It's like, how do you like your food?
Instead of being the yes man, he's the no man.
Yeah, he just saying no to everything.
There's a smosh bit I'm going to show you after the video.
Yeah.
Where one of the characters comes up with, "I'm our new improv character, the no man." Instead of yes anding your bits, I'm going to no stop your bits.
And now, that's amazing. Now, here's the thing. Jaya is known for what?
Fire.
Yes. In this moment, she shows up and Palpatines some Phyrexians.
She lightnings?
She uses Lightning Strike.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
That's why the card Lightning Strike in this set...
her...
It has her.
Oh.
She's the one doing it.
Yes.
So she Lightning Strikes the Phyrexians, and Karn's like... What? And she's like, What, did you think I only did fire? I learned
Yes!
I learned some new tricks. I can adapt. I can evolve. I have so much potential and more to do with my life. So, with that said...
She was a start drinking the slow time water. Aren't you a little old? Don't you dare say that word.
Did you call me old? And so, essentially, Karn realizes that the best move on how to get to Sheldred and actually stop her is to bring out the Silex, the perfect amount of bait. So he tells Jaya, go into my shop, go get the Silex, and we can come out and we'll be able to like work with what we have. And so that's essentially what she goes and she does. And she goes out into this whole deal. And while that's happening, this whole fight's taking place. And then Sheldred shows up. And
she's here for the fight.
And she's essentially been attached to a series of human centipeded dragon engines. And that's like in her artwork, you know how it's like incredibly large and in charge?
Yeah.
It's a bunch of dragon engines. It looks like a Phyrexian dreadnought, but apparently it's a bunch of dragon engines and she was just installed on top of them. She also has an actual human face. And the reason she has this human face is because
she stole it.
Yeah. She found a girl that she found particularly attractive, ripped her face off, and put it on like Nicolas Cage. It's Sheldred.
It's amazing.
It's Sheldred. And so essentially what happens is this, and obviously there's like an actual like fight choreography thing that happens here, but I'm obviously not going to go through that with you. And so essentially,
just look at the implications behind that. That's pretty.
I like your face.
I
Why,
am
thank
pretty.
you. It's like, I like your face. Oh, why, thank you. I'll take it. What? And so essentially this is all happening. Sheldred's coming in like to attack them and take over the mana rig because she wants the mana rig, she wants the Silex. Those are the two things she wants, right? That we know of. And it's at this point that Jorah's like, okay, time to take this show on the road. And like flips a switch and the mana rig gets up and starts to move.
Oh no.
Because the mana rig was designed at one point to be mobile.
Uh-huh.
So it could avoid like actually getting taken by anything. Because it's such a valuable thing. And so now we have a mobile mana rig crushing Phyrexians beneath his feet while Sheldred is basically chasing after it in her dragon engine body, while Urte has been left somewhere in a cliff, while Jaya is taking the Silex, and now suddenly Ajani is looking really weird at Jaya.
But why?
But why indeed? Let's keep going. So essentially, Sheldred trips because of the fact that she had thought was grabbing the mana rig, and she tips over because she has just so much mass. And basically, there's a point where, as it's moving, a Kavu with wings just like comes across the sky and lands on the rig, and Joda gets off and is like, "Oh, hey guys, am I late?"
Yes.
And so basically, Mary is with him because obviously, and she goes, "This is her words when she sees everything." She goes, "So many planeswalkers." And it's an honor to fight alongside you all. And the mana rig is even bigger than I imagined. I love Maria.
Why is this you?
She's so cool. I love her. And like, I want to make a deck with her, but there's no cards in Standard that really support her. Which is why I'm really looking forward to Brothers War, because I know there's going to be an archetype that fits exactly with what she does.
Lore.
Yes. So, that all said, also that would be her dream, to go to the Brothers War and experience all that. So, there's all these Kavu showing up, more reinforcements. So essentially, every time the Phyrexians seem like they're about to take over, more reinforcements come. Because it's essentially all of Dominaria fighting against them, right?
Has Maria been established before as this lore lover?
Maria?
Yeah.
This is her first appearance.
I would love it if they introduced her this set so that all the stories for Brothers War are actually her reading them, like as the narrator.
That'd be cool. I would love it if there was some kind of frame story.
And on that note, we're going to go ahead and catch you guys next time.
Ha!
You've been bamboozled!
Yeah, it's true. This is actually a two-parter episode.
It's that epic, so you're not going to want to miss it no matter what.
It's going to be good.